Somewhere in the United States right now, a person woke up this morning in a room the size of a parking spot. They will eat in that room, exercise alone in that room, spend 22 to 23 hours of every single day in that room. Nobody will hug them. Nobody will shake their hand. They may not have a real conversation for days. This is not a horror movie. This is not a war camp. This is an official government-run, legal prison system operating across 44 states in America and in dozens of countries around the world. It's called Supermax. And most people have no idea how it actually works. If you've never heard about this, subscribe right now. This one will stay with you. Most people think prison is prison. You go in, you follow the rules, maybe you work, maybe you take classes, you serve your time. Supermax is a completely different thing. The full name is Super Maximum Security Prison. The government also calls them control unit prisons. The idea behind them is simple. Take the most dangerous, most disruptive, most uncontrollable people in the entire prison system and remove them from everyone else completely. Not just their own prison, from all human contact. Almost entirely. By 2004, 44 U.S. states had at least one Supermax prison or Supermax unit. At any given time, roughly 80,000 people in America are held in some form of Supermax or solitary confinement. That is more people than live in many cities. This is not a rare edge case. This is a full system. The moment you enter a Supermax, everything changes. You are placed in a cell, roughly 84 square feet. That's about the size of a large bathroom. Inside, a concrete bed slab, a concrete desk, a concrete stool, all fixed to the walls and floor. They cannot be moved. There is a toilet and a sink. If there is a window at all, it is narrow, about 4 inches wide. In many facilities, it is angled so you cannot see outside, only the interior wall of the building. Daylight comes in. The sky does not. The door is solid steel, not bars solid. You cannot see left or right down a hallway. You see a wall. 3 times a day, a food slot opens in the door. Your meal slides through. You eat alone. Every time you leave your cell for a shower, for the rare medical visit, for anything, you are handcuffed, shackled, and escorted by 2 to 3 officers. You do not walk freely. You do not choose where you go. And here is the part that surprises most people. In Supermax, the guards don't run things through fear or force. The building itself does. Cameras everywhere. Robotics that open and close cell doors remotely. Food delivery systems. Medical consultations done through screens. The design of the place is the control. The architecture is the warden. Here is a typical day in a Supermax prison. You wake up. You are already where you will spend most of the next 24 hours. You have 22 to 23 hours in your cell. 1 hour, sometimes less, is set aside for what the system calls recreation. In most Supermax facilities, that means you are moved alone to a slightly larger concrete enclosure. There are no other people, no equipment, no team sport. You walk in a box. There are no group meals, no communal areas. No school classes in a shared room. In most Supermax prisons, what little programming exists, education, counseling, religious services, happens one-on-one with the barrier between you and the staff member. Phone calls vary by facility and security level. Some inmates get as little as 30 minutes a month. Visits, if allowed at all, are non-contact, a glass partition, or a video screen. And in many cases, inmates complete their entire sentence in Supermax and are released directly to the public. No transition, no step down, no preparation. One day you are in the most isolated environment a prison can create. The next day you're standing on a street corner. Does this system make sense to you? Drop your honest opinion in the comments below. This is where it gets complicated. Getting sent to a Supermax is not always about what crime you committed on the outside. It is mostly about what you did inside prison. A government survey found that all major Supermax systems share the same logic. placement is based on criminal and behavioral history while already incarcerated. Violent attacks on staff or other inmates. Leading a prison gang. Ordering crimes from behind bars. Escape attempts. Posing a threat to national security. Those are the official reasons. But researchers and human rights organizations have identified something else happening too. Some inmates end up in Supermax because they filed too many legal complaints. Because they became what prison administrators call troublemakers, not through violence but through paperwork. Human Rights Watch documented cases where the criteria for Supermax placement were, in their words, vaguely worded and capriciously applied. A 1999 federal court case confirmed that the rules governing who gets sent were often unclear, even to the people applying them. There is also another catch. In most states, there is no formal disciplinary hearing before you are transferred to Supermax. No trial, no appeal process with teeth. A committee reviews your file and makes a decision. That's it. Science has had a clear answer on this for decades. In 1983, researchers began formally studying what happens to people placed in long-term solitary confinement. What they found became one of the most consistently replicated findings in prison psychology. Isolation damages the brain. The documented effects include severe anxiety, paranoia, hallucinations, hypersensitivity to light and sound, difficulty thinking clearly, panic attacks, and in many cases full psychotic breaks. This is not rare. This is what prolonged isolation does to human beings as a biological fact. Psychiatrist Dr. Stuart Gratian named the cluster of symptoms SHU syndrome, SHU standing for Segregated Housing Unit. His research, later confirmed by studies from Harvard and others, found that these symptoms can begin appearing within days, not months, days. And yet Supermax sentences are not measured in days. They are measured in years, sometimes decades. Here is the twist that keeps researchers up at night. Official policy in the U.S. federal prison system states that people with serious mental illness should not be placed in Supermax conditions. And yet multiple investigations, including a 2012 U.S. Senate review, found mentally ill prisoners in Supermax facilities, sometimes with their psychiatric medication stopped after arrival. The United Nations has formally stated that prolonged solitary confinement meets the international definition of torture. Not harsh, not controversial. Torture. Amnesty International reached the same conclusion in 2014. Supermax prisons cost 2 to 3 times more to build and operate than a regular maximum security prison. Why? Because everything that inmates in regular prisons do for themselves, cooking, cleaning, maintenance, has to be done by paid staff in a Supermax. The inmates never leave their cells long enough to contribute anything, so the state pays for all of it. And because inmates can't move freely, the staff-to-inmate ratio is much higher. More officers, more hours, more cost. A 2004 study by the Urban Institute raised a question that should have been asked from the beginning. What are the actual goals of Supermax prisons, and is there any evidence they are being achieved? Their finding was uncomfortable. Outcomes in terms of violence reduction varied wildly across different states. Some showed improvements. Others showed no effect at all. The data was inconsistent. Billions of dollars spent. And the evidence that it works is, at best, mixed. Supermax prisons exist because real problems exist. Prison violence is real. Gang control from behind bars is real. Inmates who have killed guards are real. The system needed a response. What we built was the most controlled, most isolated, most expensive, and most psychologically severe form of incarceration in human history. Whether it works, whether it makes prisons safer, whether it makes communities safer, whether the cost is worth the outcome is still officially an open question. Studies conflict. States disagree. The debate continues. What is not in debate is this. Tens of thousands of people right now are living in conditions that science says cause lasting psychological damage. Some of them committed the worst crimes imaginable. Others are still waiting for the evidence against them to fully be weighed. The Supermax system is not hidden. It is not secret. It is funded by taxes, documented in public records, and reviewed by courts. It is simply something most people never think about, until now. If this made you think, subscribe and share it. Someone in your circle needs to see this.